Welcome back, everybody, to our channel. I'm Nikki.
And I'm John.
And this is Nikki and John. Today we're going to be talking about two movies that blend together very well. So we're going to try to separate them so you don't get confused, but they all just seem to tie in anyway. And that's X and Pearl, both 2022. They're both written and directed by Ty West. Pearl had some help with the writing and screenplay and everything from Mia Goth, who plays Pearl, who is just magnificent, I think.
Oh, she's fantastic.
I think she's, and I didn't know she was British.
Mother, who's also an actress in Brazil.
I just learned that too.
Right?
Wow.
I was like, and she has a really thick British accent. I'm like, what the hell? Like I never would have guessed.
I never would have guessed that.
Right? We'll start off with X, 2022. Mia Goth, Jenna Ortega, Brittany Snow, Kid Cudi, Martin Henderson, and Owen Campbell.
Before we start, they're always looking for the X factor. Well, today we have pineapple and habanero X Factor sauce. I don't know the actual label. There is no label on it right now. My friend makes this. It's really good. We're going to try it. And then we're going to see if we can get through this review.
Why are you doing that?
What?
Get a spoon. What are you doing?
I don't have a spoon. And this stuff doesn't come out easy. Okay. All right.
Touch your eye.
Use my finger as a spoon. That's really good.
It sounds like it would be good. Pineapple habanero. It sounds good.
Doesn't have too much heat
Yet.
yet. I just don't want to get it all over the place because it's not coming out easy. It's thicker than I thought.
That's what she said. Oh, it's really tasty. All right.
Are you ready to go, Hobo Joe?
X Factor's upon us.
Flavor Flav, the fly fella.
A group of people set out to make a porno movie because this is set in the 70s, which I absolutely love. And the cameraman wants to make it more artsy, and Maxine's boyfriend is just like, I just want to shoot it. I just want to make money. I want to roll in the dough. Yeah. Then they pick a really creepy destination for their film, and they start to unravel some pieces that probably shouldn't be put together in that. It's really crazy.
Yeah, I mean the place that they rented to do this at was probably a great location, except for the homeowners. They did not suspect what would happen doing this.
I mean, some of the stuff in this film, it's crazy because you have this old lady that just wants to, who initially is Pearl, but you don't know anything about Pearl. You just see her as this creepy, weird old lady. You don't know anything about her. Yeah. And that's kind of like why I liked X better than Pearl, because I feel like even though Pearl is the actual story, I felt like you got a little bit more feeling and emotion from Pearl's character in X, because she's like, looking at all the old pictures of her that you see in Pearl, but it just holds so much more significance because you kind of feel bad and she missed her chance.
Well, yeah, and that she's been like living in the past probably her whole life.
Yeah, she felt like she was stuck most of her life. See, now we're getting into Pearl. It's really hard to separate these two films because they really just bleed together. They do seem to fit together. They're definitely connected. I do feel that Pearl should have been before X.
The reason they did it the way they did it is because they weren't sure if they were going to do more with X. I think maybe they just wanted to put out a decent horror movie. Yeah. And that resembled kind of that time of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like that kind of vibe. Like shots that, like, things about the filming I really enjoyed is like that long shot from the house at the beginning. And they hold these long shots longer than most other movies would. Most other movies would zoom in or just switch to a close-up shot. Yeah. They hold these long shots, and I really like that. And I like the vibe I got from it. Like, it made me feel like this movie was made in the 70s, but looked crisper and cleaner than a 70s movie. And the same thing with Pearl, kind of making it look like it's a 1920s movie, like Wizard of Oz or something. That Technicolor, but that color being really vibrant, like more so than it should have been.
Yeah.
Which, and just of course, the both storylines kind of resemble the time frame they're from. You know,
It's hard to talk about these films without giving away certain pieces of it, but
right.
Unless somebody has seen it and you can talk with them about it. But I like how they picked the boldness of it for Pearl, because she wanted to just break free and become a free soul so badly, because you could just feel like the weight of her anger. Like, she's just anchored in this fucking farmhouse, and all she wants to do is go live. She's young. She wants a huge life, all this imagination.
And her mother shoots down like everything, because her mother is very, this is how it is. You're lucky that you have this kind of thing. And, oh, we have to pray to God every night. And she speaks in her language tongue, German, to her a lot. But she also knows English because she goes back and forth. But she's also, and that scene at near, like, closer to the end, spoilers always, when the mother is at the dinner table right before she catches fire, is very, she's like, well, I didn't get to do the things I wanted to do. Do you think I want to, like, stay here and babysit? I didn't want to have a baby. I wanted to have a husband. Like, and now she feels like she's the mother to her husband, opposed to being the wife to her husband. And she's just as distraught, but she doesn't allow us to see it until just that moment. And she's still trying to hold her daughter down, and that's what makes Pearl snap. I felt like these two movies, they intertwine so much, because, like, when you watch X first and you see, like, the old woman use this pitchfork, and she strategically gets it right through the little holes in the barn to get this guy in the face, you're kind of like, how did this old woman do that? But then in Pearl, you get to see her use the pitchfork multiple times, and that she's very efficient with this pitchfork, and that her aim is impeccable. So that kind of tells the story of why she can do that later on. So you kind of really need to watch them consecutively together.
Yes. Yes, I highly agree
maybe
with that.
More in chronological time frame, like start with Pearl and then go to X.
I mean, I personally agree with that, because I feel like there's so many pieces missing in X, and you're like, well, what the hell, what's this old lady's problem? Why is she crawling in bed with this lady? Why is she like, yeah. Like, what the fuck? Dude, I want to fucking punch that bitch. And then it's funny as fuck when she comes out of the room, and then this other person goes, and then she like kind of like
scurries away. She's naked, and she's like, ew.
Pearl was definitely like the first film, and they put a little bit more into it, because it only took them like 6 months to make or write together or whatever. And I get that. I think for what it was, it's good. I just felt like it had like a slow tone to it. So you see Pearl, but you don't really sympathize with her yet on a level that they wanted you to, like, already, because they had already made X. They already had an idea. But I feel like they were like, oh shit, we got this. This is good. And it's okay. It just, for me, it lacks any type of emotion or attachment to that character. Most of the time, whether it's a villain or a good guy, I'm like, I get you.
I also enjoyed kind of like the symbolism of, like, there's a scene where the projectionist in Pearl is driving away, and Pearl kind of falls down right next to the road, and she's laying there, and then she gets up and runs. It's reminiscent of when old Pearl shoots that gun, gets flown out the door because of the kickback, and she breaks her hip, and she's laying right next to the road. But instead of someone just driving away, they drive back and crush her head and then take off. I liked how, like, that was kind of like almost mimicking or like foreshadowing what's going to happen to you, Pearl. You just fell because someone's trying to leave, and that's going to happen again. But next time it's not going to turn out so well.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. I don't know. I thought that was neat.
No, I agree. I liked a lot of the blood and gore, but there is many like quick shots in X where you get the point. And then Pearl, it kind of hovers. It's like, stab, gosh, stab. You know, it really takes in that psycho mentality that she has.
Why, she wouldn't even harm a fly.
And I feel that a lot of the moments that Pearl freaks out, especially when she's on stage and she doesn't get the part.
Yeah.
She reminded me so much of Kathy Bates in Misery.
What do you think I say when I go to the feed store in town? Oh, now, Wally, give me a bag of that effing pig feed and 10 pounds that bitchly cow corn. And in the bank, do I tell Mrs. Bollinger, oh, here's one big bastard of a check. Give me some of your Christing money?
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, I was just like, damn, girl.
Was that first kill she does, the film guy, the cameraman, and I think they're scissors she's holding, and she gets him right in the neck, and then when he falls down, she just keeps going and going and going. But she has such like a blank look on her face.
But but Pearl is emotionless because she's been in a box, you know. She wants to be free, but everything she's in a box with a bunch of stones in it. She can't fucking get out. So therefore she can't have any type of relationship with her husband. She wants so badly to have that, but she can't. He's like, oh, I'll die, my heart would. So she still feels alone. She's been alone this whole time, and she's out of any type of care. She's in it for herself now, which is now too late.
Yeah. And she's seeing them do something that she wanted to do, and is resentful of that. She's jealous of it, you know?
I love the fact that you brought up the scene where she fucking kills the camera guy, because I wrote that down. That was one of my favorite scenes, because after she's like, you want to see me dance? Like, no, I don't want to see any of that. But then after she kills him, she's like, now watch me dance, motherfucker. It cracked me up. I was like, go, bitch, go.
But the dance scene also doesn't make sense until you kind of see Pearl.
But see, that's what I mean. Like, I like that Pearl is out. And if I was to suggest the way to watch them, watch Pearl first, then X. Because it'll make more sense. You know, there's a scene with the gator, and you're like, well, damn, that's a fucking big gator. And then you don't get the significance until you watch Pearl. You don't know that that's Pearl's pet.
Yeah.
You know, you don't think like, oh, fuck, there's a gator.
You know? Chickens and whatever, you know, like.
Well, I mean, I find that to be, X is very simple, and there is no fucking around with it. You know, you have it as it is. This lady's fucking nuts. She obviously has some type of weird hang up about something. These people just want to make a movie and leave. It's very cut and dry, and that's why there's no bullshit or fluff around. Like, you know my thing with fluff. There's facts. And then there's fucking fluff, and it's useless bullshit that they throw in, and I'm like, I can see right through it. I'm falling asleep. The one scene that really killed me the most, and I think that you can relate to most of with Pearl, is when they're done filming the scenes and they're all sitting in the room and they start to sing Landslide, and then they see the split screen of the older Pearl, and then you have the woman singing, and she's singing so young and beautiful and so vibrant. She has all this youth to her. And then you're looking at Pearl going, God, isn't that a bitch? Isn't that life? You know, you're old, you're fucking alone, you're unhappy. You have all these sexy bodies, and you're taunting you, saying you could have had this, but she's so fucking broken. That almost made me cry, that scene, because it was so heartbreaking.
A fun fact for you.
The X rating was originally, for an audience of 16 or older. They didn't have, you know, like PG-13, PG R-rated movies. I think it was very simple and cut dry. But A Clockwork Orange fell under this category, and quite a few other movies. But movie theaters started noticing that you know, in the 70s, that the porn industry was taking that same X rating and still getting them in the theaters. Right. Which then 16-year-olds could go see. So what they had to do was change the ratings and made movies like A Clockwork Orange more R-rated, where you had to be 18 to see it, or 16, I guess maybe 16 at the time for R-rated, but to see X-rated, you had to be 18. Jenna Ortega was actually hungover during her iconic scream scene in the basement. After she was going to a pub crawl the night before with her castmate, Kid Cody.
It's Kid Cudi here. I don't know. You might say it differently over there. We say Kid Cudi. I don't know. Maybe I just say that. So now we're going to dive a little bit deeper into Pearl. Even though we try to talk about X, and they do thread in very well with each other. You can't really talk about one without the other. But I think we have a lot more to say about Pearl than we did with X. Is that fair? So Pearl 2022. This film was written and directed by Ty West with some help from Mia Goth with Pearl's background and her story. This film stars Mia Goth, David Corenswet, and Tandy Wright.
Pearl was a young girl that her husband has gone to the war. It's World War One. The Spanish flu is now kind of rampant, so you do see some masks in this movie every now and then. And but she's stuck living at home with her mom, with her sick dad, trying to take care of the farm where they've lost most of their animals that they have. And she desperately wants to break out into dancing or film or something. She wants to be famous. She wants to leave. She wants to make a name for herself. And she just feels so pulled in by her life and feels like she can't. And she gets an opportunity to break out, and it doesn't work out for her. And even before she got that opportunity, she kind of loses it a bit, and that just continues to spiral. When she doesn't get what she wants, she almost throws a tantrum like a little child. But I love the progression of it, and I love seeing where Pearl, the old lady, came from. I really loved the style of filming of this movie, where again, back to X for a second, that it was darker tones, not as bright colored, because it was more reminiscent of like the 70s, 80s slasher movies, where this is more like, it seems like a wholesome, fun movie at the beginning, but I mean, drastically changes. But I loved how it looked like Wizard of Oz style, Technicolor, but the colors were so bright and vibrant. And I know we discussed that earlier, but I mean, I can't get over how visually stunning it kind of looked.
Yes.
And I think that's really helped with the slow pace of the story, which kept you intrigued, because they would show little tidbits of horror kind of things, like when she picks up the goose or whatever and feeds it to the gator. And, you can see, okay, there's little stepping stones that she's already comfortable with killing an animal and feeding it to the gator. And then there's, the scene where she almost feeds her dad to the gator, but mom catches her and stops her.
I was hoping she was going to feed him to the gator. I really wanted that.
Because she instant forward a little bit, and she was like, "Are you even there, Daddy?" And you can see kind of the terror in his eyes. He's like, he is there. He just can't tell you. Creepy.
I wanted that to happen so fucking bad. I was like, yes, she gonna eat good today.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, I really enjoyed this film for that. The aesthetics of it and everything.
I completely agree with you. I know this film was supposed to be in black and white, but I feel that, if it was to that, I think it would have brought down the movie a little bit. I think when you do black and white movies, I think you really have to have a really strong dynamic, because me personally, I love visual things. That way you said Pearl was so visual. I really liked all the vibrancy about it. And that is what gave it life. I feel that if this was in black and white, it would have been sunk, completely sunk. I love the character of Pearl. I just wish it was just a little quicker. And I know that it's the time period and you want to make yourself familiar with that character. You want to relate to that character, so that way you could feel and like the movie and express it. If she kills something, you don't want to feel bad for the person that she kills. You want to feel vindicated for her.
Yeah, right.
And I like that.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. That's kind of the vibe you get from the whole movie. Where you sympathize with her being, and the end kill being the girl that got the role, and it's her own sister-in-law.
I love that one part where Pearl has her moment and she's talking with her sister-in-law and she's at the table and she just confesses everything.
Be dancing up on the screen like the pretty girls in the pictures. I want what they have so badly. To be perfect. To be loved from as many people as possible to make up for all my time spent suffering. Sometimes I wake in the middle of the night and the fear washes over me, because what if this is it? What if this is right where I belong? I'm a failure. I'm not pretty, or naturally pleasant, or friendly. I'm not smart, or funny, or confident. I'm exactly what Mama said I was, weak.
She lays everything on the table, and that's when I knew she was gonna die, because I'm like, oh, she's spilling it all. She going, like, this girl's gonna get killed.
Like, and at that point too, I knew, I'm like, oh, she knows that she got the part.
Yeah.
We don't even know it yet, but I'm like, she definitely got the part, because they're looking for a blonde, younger, doing something different.
Yeah.
We didn't know we didn't get to see her dance, but I'm like, I bet you she did something that they liked. And then when she walks out of the house, and then Pearl kind of follows her and then picks up the axe, and then she's looking back, terrified, screaming, like, I'm like, oh, you gonna get it. And then she trips over like a little rock or something. I'm like, oh, watch where you're walking. God damn it. You could have ran away.
I personally, when I like the character of her, when she started crying, like, I want to be a star, like, she's like screaming. I'm like, okay, I kind of felt bad, but I was more like, shut the fuck up and get off the stage already. Nobody cares.
When she was crying outside of the church, I was like, all right. You didn't lose anything major. Come on. But I guess to her, it was like her whole future she lost, right?
Yeah, because, even the whole thing with the projectionist, which I kind of had like an inkling it was like an imaginary thing, because this film did remind me a lot of Wizard of Oz, and I love the Wizard of Oz, but the fact that she was using the scarecrow to manipulate her fantasy, I really thought there was going to be times where she'd look at the projectionist and he'd have like straw coming out of his ear and he'd be like part of the scare or something like that, but he didn't.
Really cool dynamic.
Right? Like, I thought that would have been like being like, oh man, like she's really fucking nuts. She's imagining this guy now. But it's funny because there is a talk about how she kind of almost imagines him, because he's showing her everything she wants to see. So she's probably just imagining him and doing all these things like she wants to, and then he's like, all right, fine, you're psycho, I'm out of here. Then the real Pearl comes, and I'm just like, yes.
Well, I think we kind of got the real him too, though, because I feel like he said all those things just to get in her pants.
Yes.
And then once he did, and then he seen she was a little nuts, and then he wasn't realizing, there's a dead body in the basement, You
done messed up, AA, Ron. It's over for you. Bitch.
This movie, it like you said, it's slow, kind of paced at the beginning, but when it picks up, it picks up quite nicely.
But I think that's also was the drab of the time period. It was very dead because they had that flu going on. You were at war or you were home taking care of everything else. Yeah. It was such a depressing time that you could feel that heaviness on it. But I think the pivotal moment is that one scene where she's at the table, and I'm just like, wow, you see all of the vibrance. You don't need the colors. Even if it was in black and white, you'd be like, wow, that's fucking colorful. This woman is nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved how like she did it as if she was telling her husband, not telling the sister-in-law.
Right. I like how she feels like she has to confess because she feels so guilty and still yet so trapped. She just has to get it out, and she's just tired of it.
Now, I do wish we get to see more of the husband, because he's obviously the older guy that's married to her in X, but we don't really get to see him in his full reaction to everything that happened. I mean, we see him come in, and she's like, "Oh, you're home," and then she does that long, awkward smile. But we don't really see any more reaction of him until he's an old man.
Well, see, that was another thing that I had trouble with too, because you missed that huge gap.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see the making of her, but now, like, I would like to see her on the prowl. You know what I mean? Like
people.
Part of it.
because he clearly just would shoot someone that was going to get in their way or whatever, you know.
Or like he's like, you're enticing my wife and you got to go. Yeah. Very protective.
Yeah. And
but still,
we don't see how he goes crazy because obviously he's a little nuts too, but we don't get to see that. So I'd love to see a side flick of
right.
their marriage between 1920 and when the next movie comes out, 1970, whatever year, that 60-year span or whatever. I'd love to see what happens in there.
I'd be really curious to see that as well. And I think that I'm not going to say I hope that the third movie is really good. It's going to be in the 80s. It's another time period that everybody seems to like. Now, I don't know where it's going to go from here. I think that X was pretty substantial at ending. She got away.
Yeah.
Now what?
Well, Maxine got away, which is apparently what the next one's going to be called. So I think she's going to take that kind of Pearl's brutalness to get what she wants and do the same thing.
Kind of like a Basic Instinct type thing.
Like now that she's been introduced to like death around her, or something. Right. Maybe, maybe we'll see her like kill off some like head producers that promised her the world and then recanted, and then she goes on a killing spree. I don't know what we're gonna see, but
yeah, right.
I'm kind of interested to find out where it's gonna go. You know.
A fun fact for you:
Pearl's Gator is named Theta, which is after Theta Bara, who is an American silent film actress and was the earliest sex symbol. Woo. So I thought that was cute because even in one of the scenes where Pearl goes back to the theater, you see on the billboard theater of what movie's playing, you see the actress's name in Cleopatra. I thought that was pretty cool. Tandy Wright, who plays the mom, she learned German for this role. And she became so great at learning that language, she actually fooled 2 people on set who are German.
Wow, that's impressive. The film that was shown to Pearl is called A Free Ride, and supposedly from 1915. And it was a real vintage stag film. But a film historian named Kevin Brownlow said it was probably more from 1920, which would actually mean that this movie came out 2 years after this movie, Pearl, is taking place. But minor detail, I don't think many people would notice how many people have seen A Free Ride. Exactly what year it came out, who knows? The homeowners of the house that they used to film this at really enjoyed the makeover that they did for the house. And I believe they kept it. They enjoyed it so much. I mean, it's also probably one of my favorite scenes from the movie was that long shot, extended length smile that Pearl gives at the end. And it was she was just told to smile, but she just kept smiling and kind of looking awkward because she was waiting for the director to yell cut, and he didn't, so she kept going. He just kept the film rolling, and it lasted for 1 minute and 51 seconds. What I really love about it is how the credits are done like the old school credits you see at the end of like Wizard of Oz, but they always place it so that her eyes are always shown, no matter what names or anything's around her. They always keep those eyes open.
See, I like that scene too, because it's like all that fear and like she just almost died inside. You know, she's like, it's real. Like the only thing she wanted to be real was her fantasy, and she couldn't even get that. And she's like, fuck no, this is real. I'm stuck.
Yeah. And I think she's also showing that fear because she doesn't know her husband's reaction yet. He's just kind of standing there staring at her. We don't know what he says. You hear no words, so like you don't know his reaction. But we do know that later on, when he's an old man, that they're both okay with killing people. So
yeah, perfect match.
Obviously, they made it up somehow.
He shoots. He scores.
I guess we'll start with Pearl. I'm going to give it a 3.9. I probably would watch this movie again, but I didn't enjoy it as much as X, because because of the slow pace and how long it takes for the killings to happen. But I still think it was a fantastic movie, so I give it a 3.9.
Yeah, I agree. The slowness, there is a very slow tone in it, but the story is pretty captivating. I just wish it was a little faster, so therefore I will give it a 3 out of 5. I mean, it still holds that dynamic of, oh my God, the making of a serial killer, but they kind of leave you with like holes here and there. It's like, okay, you know.
So the X Factor.
I feel like Wolverine.
I'm gonna give it a 4.1 because I just think this movie is a lot of fun. And I love the old 70s, 80s slashers, so it definitely has that feel. But I love the long shots that they hold longer than most people would hold long shots. I love that dynamic. It's a little different. The kill scenes were great. I like the actors, the characters. And I mean, of course, who didn't like the sex scenes? Because let's face it, back in the 70s and 80s, every good horror movie had a sex scene. You got to see movies, right? So I would definitely watch this movie again for sure. So 4.1.
Yeah, I definitely like this one. That the time period, the draw, like I don't know, it moves, it grooves. You know, it's like I really like that. It was there. It was in your face. It was bloody. It was funny. It was sexy. It was. I mean, it wasn't really funny. Like funny to people, like the one scene where she's dancing and after she kills the guy, I thought that was fucking funny. Like, and the way that she scurries out of the room after she cuddles with.
She scurries out of the room. That I almost died laughing because. Like,
I mean, the way some people die, I have to laugh. It's funny. So for this, I have watched this a few times, and if it's on, I will watch it again. So 4 out of 5 for me for X. I really like that one a lot more, and I hope Maxine will be even better.
Yeah, I don't know when it's supposed to come out, but we will definitely be checking that out when it does.
Yeah.
So what do we have going on next week there, Nikki?
We are going to review the movie Fall. This movie is pretty good.
I enjoyed it. And if you haven't already, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Please leave us a comment. Tell us what you think. Tell us maybe the movies that you'd like us to be reviewing. And, yeah.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.